On this earth, we have used STEM in so many innovative and magnificent ways that we have created a way of life that is efficient and productive. Although, from this, we have also depleted many of Earth's key resources that we will need forever in order to live comfortable lives. These resources include water, animals, trees, and fossil fuels. With water, that is the most important, hands down. We need it to survive. It's a part of our biological makeup to need water. But unfortunately, in countries like the US, developed countries that have more prominent infrastructure and economic systems, we use 215 cubic meters of water per person per year, which equates to about 57,000 gallons. Whereas in countries like Mali, who are developing and they have typically a lower standard of life or a lower level of industrial production, they use about 4 cubic meters of water per person per year, which is just over 1,000 gallons. There's obviously an imbalance between developing and developed countries in their intake. But unfortunately, developed countries only hold 20% of the world's human population, whereas developing countries hold 80% of the world's population. So this is unfair. And our intake of water in countries like the US is leading to flooding, the interruption of natural flow, breeding problems for certain aqueous animals, and thirst or water loss in general in the world. But going on to our other resources like fossil fuels and animals and trees, fossil fuels are output of them essentially because we're burning them all the time, constantly emitting carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and sulfur dioxide. We are basically putting a fat layer around Earth that is causing climate change because it is almost acting like a blanket and is keeping the sun's heat in, and which is causing global warming, acid rain, and respiratory and irritation. We're affecting ourselves heavily. And with animals, our overuse of them, or the commercial use of animals, has leading to food loss actually, and water contamination because of all of their waste, and illnesses like salmonella, etc. Any foodborne food poisoning. We're harming ourselves with our overuse and exploitation of these resources, and especially with trees. Developed countries use 84% of all of the trees that we use. That is totally disproportionate. This is leading to deforestation heavily. It's almost like a known saying that we take down a football field of trees every second, and it's leading to soil erosion and habitat loss, which all of these effects are leading to climate change and the loss of biodiversity, which is essentially like jeopardizing the future of our Earth. We need this Earth to live. This is our home. It has been discovered by scientists that we have about 12 years from today to significantly reduce our emissions, or the effects of climate change will be irreversible. If the effects of climate change are irreversible, then we will have to leave this Earth, because the changes in agriculture, the loss of biodiversity, the rise in the ocean levels, and the depletion of our water supply will all have a direct effect on us and will make this place a place that we can no longer live. But with all of this, we have the power to do something. We have the brains and the minds to do and invent sustainable practices and inventions that will help our Earth move into the right direction. One invention that I recently saw was the spin cycle, and I love it. It basically attaches a kind of propeller-like spinner that in a container, and you can wash your clothes in it while you ride your bike. This reduces water waste. Perfect. It uses less power, so that means fewer fossil fuels are used and fewer emissions, and also it transports someone on top of that. So then also fewer emissions because they won't have to use a car. So this use of human power is so innovative, and it will help us to reduce our depletion of resources. Personally, I would like to invent something like this in the future. I would like to invent something that alleviates the depletion of our forests. I think that we could use the undesirable produce that always gets thrown away because it doesn't look pretty, and use that to make organic fibers that could serve as napkins, papers for notebooks or printers, or paper towels. And that will be extremely biodegradable, and it will not use a resource that would not already be discarded. So the trees will be left alone, and the napkins, papers, etc., that always get wasted and we go through so quickly will just naturally go back into the earth and be recycled.